So Tony, just to kick it off, what do you think the prerequisite experience would be for somebody wanting to move into leadership?
Yeah, look, I'll start with prefixing all of my comments here, Craig, by saying it's very subjective, right, in terms of somebody's role moving into a leadership position. There's a lot of different ways to do it. I'm going to give you some feedback based on my own career, my own observations as a leader, but also 15 years in the recruitment sector as well, interviewing a lot of candidates and obviously hiring a number of leadership positions. So at the end of the day, it's still subjective. It's still my view of the world. Look, I think the first thing, prerequisite experience, it's really important to show mastery of your current role. So if you're in a specialist position now and you're looking to move into leadership, it seems obvious, but I've seen a number of people sort of, hey, give me the responsibility and I'll step up once you've given it to me. And I actually think it needs to be, show me that you've really mastered your own role first before I give you more responsibility, i.e. People to oversee. And that's really important, I think, because you don't need to be the highest performer. In fact, there's no real correlation that I've ever seen between highest performance as a specialist and moving into a leadership role and excelling. But you do need to at least be competent in your role to master that role. Why? Because you're going to be helping other people get to that same point. So if you haven't got there yourself, it's really difficult to have the confidence to push people to know that journey yourself, because you walked that road previously, and also from a credibility point of view, if you're going to be overseeing people who do those same specialist roles, but you haven't actually mastered that role yourself, it's difficult. So get your day job buttoned down, prove that you can do your day job first. And then I think it's, and this is what I personally did, and then it's yes, you do your day job of what's required from you there, but it's thinking about the whole team and what the whole team's trying to achieve, and be more team orientated. And if you're going to be a role model, and if you're going to be that person helping your manager push change, then it's also thinking about, as a senior specialist, how you land on others, what impact you have on people around you. Because look, we can lead from any role, right? To be leaderful is a competency. It doesn't mean you need the title of leader. Yep, you do have to back yourself, and some people don't back themselves enough. They wait to be asked to be stepped up to take a leadership role, or wait till a restructure means they're sort of last person standing as the senior member of the team to take on the position. Look, leadership can seem a little scary, or can be seen to be something that some people unfortunately shy away from for whatever reason. I think it'd be a hugely rewarding role, incredibly rewarding, if you stop to smell the roses. But I see a lot of people see these, especially early on in someone's leadership career, when they haven't really nailed who they are as a leader. They're still writing as if they're a senior specialist. And by that I mean they talk about their achievements as being more I-focused than we-focused. As I say, it's a little easier sometimes to appreciate and to identify and articulate what your own achievements are. It is harder sometimes to get across in a really punchy way what your team's achievements are. It's really difficult, Craig, to step outside of an organisation and take your first leadership role in a different company. Certainly, it's one of the fastest ways to get a pay rise, but it's not always the fastest way to get your first leadership role. A lot of my advice to people is, look, unless you have to leave, or you've unfortunately lost your job for whatever reason, do your best to stick around where you are and get your first leadership role there, and then move across to a bigger leadership role with greater responsibility. Even if it's just supervising staff at a 2IC level, or informal oversight of staff, that's still better than nothing, I think, before you make your move. Get all that into your CV, even if it's just supervising people informally, that's fine. People need to see that right up front in your CV, that you've got some level of oversight, that you've mentored people, you've been involved in training, you've been involved in projects, something to show that you've had a greater level of responsibility in your role than just being that specialist. And then if you are currently in a leadership role and you're looking to move on to another position, then think about achievements of the team. Think about team budgets, think about who might have won awards in your team, think about who might have been promoted from your team, even if it means leaving your team for another role. Those sorts of things, I think, show that you've helped up other people.
So what would be, say, like the 3 competencies that you would be looking for somebody either on their CV or at an interview being able to demonstrate?
Yep. In terms of competencies or behaviours of within leadership, and I think in particular, I'm thinking about leaders within maybe their first 4 or 5 years of leading a team. So it could be 1 or 2 people, it could be 4, 5, 6, 7 people. But the early on, I suppose, in your leadership career, what are the sort of behaviours or competencies that you want to stand out?
When you're interviewing somebody as a leader, taking them into the into your organisation, how are you expecting them to demonstrate that credibility and proof?
Yeah, well, yeah, good question. It's a little harder as a leader. It's harder as a leader because I want you to have a specific example that brings that competency to life, right? Especially around, let's take that topic of change. And helping a team move from one state to another, or the adoption of new technology or strategy or whatever else you're trying to achieve. It feels a little less tangible at first glance when you're trying to think about how do you sell yourself. So you got to work a little bit harder to tell a story around and using the STAR model or CAR model, or whatever you're using as a structure to talk through the specific example that brings that competency to life. Let me tell you about a time when I had this situation within the team and what I did to work through it. So you do have to have those examples ready to go, and sort of 4 or 5 good team examples that help demonstrate how you've coached and developed people, how you've helped a team change direction and build adoption towards something new, perhaps how you've changed a process for the better customer centricity, whatever it might be. So have that story ready to go, and be really, really specific around what you did to impact the result for the team. How you set the platform for the team to shine or thrive in that situation. It's harder, but you need to be prepared.
What would be the key resource?
Well, I think the first and most important resource, if you like, in your professional life, who rate you, who you are comfortable with, and you've got a good connection with. So that could be a previous manager, it could be a current manager if you've got a really good open sort of dialogue with your manager about your career and what you're looking to do. It could be another senior stakeholder you've spent a lot of time with, but someone who is going to give you some good feedback around your career to date and then your opportunities for the future. Someone who's a really good sounding board for you is in particular, I think, around moving into or progressing through leadership roles. I think that's critical, actually. I think that's the best resource, because I talked earlier about knowing yourself and being comfortable with yourself. Well, that comes by seeking feedback, I think, from people around you that know you well, who are prepared to give you that feedback and give it to you on the chin.
So what would be the next steps?
I'd be asking lots of questions to begin with. I'd be asking lots of questions of people around me that know me professionally around what they think I need to do to round myself off in terms of experience. Where do they think I'm still missing in terms of my experience or track record based on where I'm looking to go next? What can I do to close that gap? What experience can I get on my CV by putting my hand up for projects or other responsibility to help with closing that gap? I think ask a lot of questions in that regard. What education perhaps do I need to undertake just to round myself off as well? But I think when it comes to leadership, there's a lot more value in exposure and experience than there is in education. Certainly as you move up the specialist ranks, how can I educate myself to be better as a specialist? But I think leadership is surround yourself with people that questions about their career, what they did, and what you need to do to get to where they are.